Mr. Mike Flanagan, who we were talking about at the outset of the show.
Who is Mike Flanagan, if you don't know?
Mike Flanagan is the acclaimed writer and director of Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Dr. Sleep, and most recently Midnight Mass. He took to Twitter recently stating that he would love to direct a horror video game. Twitter user Little Record Girl stated, "Imagine if at Flanagan Film directed a horror video game, just putting that out there into the universe," end quote. So, Brett, Mike Flanagan, yes. Very popular, very in the news right now with Midnight Mass getting acclaim for that pretty much universally. What do you think about this? What do you think about him saying that he'd love to direct a horror video game?
Well, I would love if he did that as well. First of all, I think he's an extremely talented writer and director. I think that he makes some genuinely spooky shit. And I'm not saying jump scare spooky. I'm saying just like he sets the scene with a spook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but while you're watching, you'll look in the background and another spook will be just ready to jump out at you,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, he does well what so many others fail at, right? In my opinion, the horror of his stories are not in your face, right? It is, the horror is in the unspoken, in the unseen, in the unnoticed, in the background, and even more importantly, it's the horror of the relationships and the situations that the characters find themselves in, right?
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that I love about Haunting of Hill House so much, right? Is that the horror is in the family drama, right? That's scarier than the actual entity, the ghost, the typical horror elements within it, right?
Yep.
He finds, first of all, incredible actors that really drive home the horror of his characters and the situations.
And he sticks with them too for a couple projects.
Yeah,
too.
And they work with him for a while. But he just does such a good job of writing dialogue and situations and relationships that are in and of themselves terrifying, but not for the typical reasons. Which is why, right, I think he could do so well in the video game space. And it's not unprecedented either. There's a lot of Hollywood directors that make the transition to, or I should say live action directors that make the transition to games. I mean, of most recent note, I think for us, think about that game Ghosts being made by Jed Shepard, who's the writer of Host and Dashcam and all these other things. So
yep.
I think this would be really cool. I think he could do really well in the game space, especially with something that's narrative driven.
Yep.
And yeah, you have anything else to add? I do have one other thing I want to chat about with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, a couple things. So number one, I mean, this might be your one thing you want to talk about, but he's a master. Mike Flanagan is a master of these long takes, right?
Yes.
Haunting of Hill House has one that it's like 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
right?
It's almost that entire episode.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 4 cuts in the whole episode.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that we were starting to see in video games already with God of War 2018. Mm-hmm. So maybe, he could bring that into another game. That would be really cool to see. And then also, I want to just mention that we're not giving enough credit to Dr. Sleep here. Okay.
Oh, one of the best sequels of all time.
He took a franchise that has existed for how many years at this point?
A very long time.
Very long time. And he was able to successfully craft a, proper sequel to a classic. And he did so with utmost respect, even down to the marketing and like poster of the film. It pays homage,
however you want to say it, dude,
to the original poster with that yellow, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you could even plop him on a franchise that is in need of a sequel, or plop him in a franchise that's dead, like Silent Hill, and let him run.
Come on now.
See what he can do.
Come on now. Yeah, I just, he does better too with long form, right? His characters have room to breathe. His stories have room to breathe. Nothing's longer form than a video game,
That's a good point. I mean, if you look at it, most of his projects are limited series, multiple hour-long episodes, like 9 hours of content. Mm-hmm. And even Dr. Sleep there's like a director's cut that's like, what, 3 hours plus?
Yeah, it's almost 4.
So you're absolutely right. He's better with these long form mediums anyway.
Right. So I would love to see it. And the last thing I want to add to this, and I couldn't find the tweets or where I saw them originally, but first of all, Hideo Kojima is sucking off Midnight Mass. And specifically some actors in it. Raul Cooley, who plays the sheriff.
It's fantastic.
And all that from, yeah. But also, Troy Baker, I think, quote tweeted this tweet that's behind us where he said would love to, with just like eyes looking at it. And there's been instances the last few months where you see him liking Mike Flanagan stuff, them engaging on Twitter and things like that. So not necessarily two worlds that would typically collide have been.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything there. I just, noting it when I'm correct and they make a game and Troy Baker's starring in it. So.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And also, I know we talked about the writing and the characters, but I think that also like just the writing and the themes in general of his projects are phenomenal. The undertones in Midnight Mass, I'm on episode 5, and you already know what he's getting at here, and what he's trying to say. It doesn't exist for no reason. There's a meaning for him telling this story, right? Always, which is probably, well, definitely true to him as a creator, but also more importantly, true to the characters within the stories, right? Yep.
And I think very rarely do you have a creator who is so clear with his message that toes that line between being too self-aggrandizing while also not being that at all, because it actually makes sense in the context of not only the world, but the characters living through the situations themselves. And there's a real, it's going to sound so pretentious, but this is a real purity with the way that he tells stories and like a truth to them that I think we rarely see. So I think in the video game space, it would be very refreshing.
Can't put it any better than that.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Josh and Brett really need you too. I love them. So do it. It would be a shame if you missed more of their videos. Hit the notification bell too, so you know when there is a new upload.